Hundreds of people have since traveled into space, but only one man was first. Yuri Gagarin, who made history with his flight to the stars.
In the vast tapestry of human achievement, certain milestones gleam with unparalleled prominence, while others, equally significant, lie overshadowed. Among these dimmer stars is a moon landing that, unlike its more celebrated peers, remains largely unacknowledged. This video unravels the tale of this overlooked lunar endeavor, pondering why it faded into obscurity and emphasizing its importance within the grander narrative of space exploration. The overlooked lunar mission. In the annals of space exploration, few events resonate as profoundly as the Apollo moon landings. They were televised spectacles, capturing the attention and imagination of billions worldwide. Yet, not all lunar missions were granted such celebrity. One such mission, although monumental in its achievements, never enjoyed the limelight it deserved. In the late 1960s and early 1970s, amidst the Apollo program's hype, a series of Luna missions were executed by the Soviet Union. The Luna program, while not manned, was of significant import. It was the series of robotic spacecraft sent to the moon, which achieved a number of firsts in space exploration. Among these missions, one in particular stands out: Luna 24. While not a manned mission, Luna 24 deserves attention for its sheer technological prowess and its audacious goals. By the time Luna 24 was launched in 1976, the last Apollo mission had been over for several years, and public attention had shifted. This mission was the 8th and final in the Luna series, designed to bring lunar soil samples back to Earth. Its predecessors faced a series of mishaps, with only a few successfully returning samples. Luna 24, however, was designed to be the most advanced of them all, with a mission plan that was nothing short of ambitious. It aimed to drill deeper into the moon's regolith than any previous mission, seeking to extract samples from depths never before reached. Though the Soviets had lost the race to put a man on the moon, their commitment to lunar exploration remained unwavering. The technological challenges posed by Luna 24 were manifold. Remote lunar drilling was still a relatively nascent technology, with several earlier missions facing complications. The terrain at the proposed landing site was rugged and unforgiving, with the potential to impede the lander's operations. Moreover, the mission demanded a swift turnaround. Once on the moon, Luna 24 had to complete its tasks quickly to catch a return window to Earth, minimizing its exposure to the harsh lunar environment. The mission's success hinged on an intricate ballet of machinery and remote operations. Engineers and scientists back on Earth held their collective breath as Luna 24 touched down on the moon's surface. The drilling began, and the lunar probe achieved what none before it had. It penetrated the lunar soil to a depth of about 2 meters, almost double what the previous missions had managed. The extracted core, containing layers of lunar history, was then stowed aboard the spacecraft for its journey home. Luna 24's return to Earth was as triumphant as its time on the moon. The spacecraft's re-entry and landing were executed flawlessly, delivering to scientists a treasure trove of lunar samples. The data derived from these samples provided insights into the moon's geological history, with findings that challenged existing theories and paved the way for new ones. But why did this monumental mission remain so overlooked? The reasons are multifaceted. Luna 24 took place against a backdrop where the grandeur of the Apollo program still loomed large. The world had seen humans walk, jump, and drive on the moon. Against such a backdrop, a robotic mission, no matter how successful, struggled to captivate the public imagination in the same way. Additionally, by the mid-1970s, space exploration was no longer the novelty it once was. The world had grown somewhat accustomed to achievements in space, and the novelty of lunar exploration had waned. Moreover, Luna 24 was a Soviet mission during the Cold War era. While the space race had largely cooled down by the 1970s, geopolitical tensions still influenced how achievements by either superpower were perceived and reported. Western media, dominant in setting global narratives, often did not accord the same level of attention to Soviet successes as they did to their own. In the grand scope of space history, Luna 24 is but a small chapter. Yet, its significance cannot be understated. It was a testament to human tenacity, to the spirit of exploration that refuses to be quelled by setbacks, and to the technological advancements that make the impossible possible. Even if it didn't capture the world's attention as Apollo did, Luna 24 remains a shining example of exploration done right. Comparing the fanfare Apollo versus the Underdog. The latter half of the 20th century was marked by a cosmic competition between two superpowers, the United States and the Soviet Union. Their race to conquer the last frontier, space, became emblematic of their respective ideologies and technological prowess. As with any competition, there were champions and underdogs, moments that made history and others that faded into its footnotes. At the heart of this narrative lies the contrast between the Apollo missions and the less celebrated Luna endeavors. The Apollo program, championed by the United States, was an endeavor of mammoth proportions. From President Kennedy's 1961 call to land a man on the moon before the decade's end to the culmination of that dream with Neil Armstrong's historic step in 1969, the Apollo missions were not just about space exploration. They were about showcasing American resolve, technological capability, and ideological superiority. The moon landings, especially Apollo 11, were broadcasted live, turning astronauts into household names and embedding phrases like, "The Eagle has landed," into global consciousness. Schools paused, families huddled around televisions, and for a few moments, geopolitical divisions blurred as humanity celebrated its most significant leap. Contrastingly, the Soviet Union's Luna program was the quiet counterpart to Apollo's flamboyance. It wasn't that the Soviets lacked ambition or capability. In many ways, the Luna program was a continuation of their pioneering spirit in space, which had given the world its first satellite, Sputnik, and its first human in space, Yuri Gagarin. But the Luna missions, particularly Luna 24, lacked the theatricality that characterized Apollo. There were no astronauts planting flags or taking one small step for man. Instead, there were robotic probes, silently going about their tasks, sending back data, and occasionally lunar soil. The nature of the missions themselves lent to the difference in fanfare. Manned missions like Apollo inherently carried more risks, drama, and human interest. The world watched, not just out of scientific curiosity, but because of the genuine danger and adventure. Each liftoff, moonwalk, and splashdown became an edge-of-the-seat affair. The human element, the personal stories of the astronauts, their families, and their sacrifices added layers to the narrative, making it relatable and riveting. Luna 24, despite its achievements, did not have the advantage of human drama. Robotic missions, while technologically intricate, lacked the emotive pull of human-led endeavors. The silent ballet of machinery on an alien world did not evoke the same passion as humans overcoming insurmountable odds. The stakes, while high scientifically, did not resonate with public sentiment in the same palpable way. Cultural contexts also played a role. The United States, with its vibrant media culture, was adept at packaging and presenting the Apollo missions as grand spectacles. There were ticker-tape parades, talk show appearances, and a relentless media spotlight. The narrative was one of victory, not just over the challenges of space, but over their Cold War adversaries. On the other hand, the Soviet approach to publicity was characteristically reserved. Successes were celebrated, but failures, and there were a few in the Luna program, were often downplayed or kept out of public view. This secrecy, at times, cast a shadow even over their achievements. Luna 24's success was a point of pride, but it did not receive the orchestrated global media blitz that Apollo enjoyed. Furthermore, by the time Luna 24 was launched, the narrative of lunar exploration had shifted. The moon, once the coveted prize of the space race, had been reached, walked upon, and returned from. For many, the story had reached its crescendo with the Apollo landings, and subsequent missions, even if groundbreaking in their own right, were viewed through a lens of diminishing returns. Media's role, spotlighting the familiar. The role of media in shaping public perception and setting narratives cannot be overstated. Through the channels of print, broadcast, and later digital platforms, media institutions wield the power to amplify certain stories while muting others. In the context of the space race and the missions that defined it, the media's influence was paramount, often spotlighting the familiar and casting lesser-known endeavors into the shadows. The 1960s and 1970s were periods of intense media evolution. Television had rapidly emerged as the dominant medium, shrinking the world by bringing distant events into living rooms globally. The moon missions, with their visual grandeur and narrative potential, were tailor-made for this medium. The Apollo program, backed by the formidable American media machinery, made full use of this. Iconic images of astronauts against the lunar backdrop, the Earthrise as seen from the moon, and live broadcasts of moonwalks became defining moments of television history. These images were not just scientific records, they were symbols, emblematic of human achievement, and they resonated deeply with audiences. While the United States was adept at using media to its advantage, it was also benefiting from a broader global media ecosystem that was West-centric. Major international news agencies, broadcasting networks, and print media, which had substantial influence on setting global news agendas, were predominantly based in the West. This meant that American narratives, whether about politics, culture, or space exploration, often received disproportionate coverage and framing. Apollo thus wasn't just an American triumph, it was presented and perceived as a global one. Against this backdrop, the Soviet Union's endeavors faced inherent challenges. While the USSR had its media institutions, they were more insular, focusing on domestic audiences and operating within the constraints of state control and censorship. The Soviet approach to information dissemination was characterized by caution, sometimes secrecy, and a reticence to share failures. This meant that even significant achievements like Luna 24 did not get the same aggressive media push that American missions did. Even if they were covered, they were often reported with skepticism or framed within the larger narrative of the Cold War rivalry. Furthermore, the media, then as now, operated on the principle of novelty and human interest. The firsts were always more captivating. The first satellite, the first human in space, the first woman in space, all Soviet achievements, did capture global headlines. But as the space race progressed and the narrative became familiar, the emphasis shifted from pure achievement to storytelling. Here, manned missions had an edge. The human stories of astronauts, their trials, challenges, and emotions made for compelling narratives, ones that robotic missions like Luna 24 could not replicate. It's also worth noting that by the time Luna 24 was launched, the story of lunar exploration was, in the eyes of many media outlets, already told. The moon had been reached, its mysteries seemingly unveiled, and the narrative hungered for new frontiers. Later missions, even if they were groundbreaking, often found themselves battling this sense of been there, done that in media coverage. Public perception and space fatigue. The triumphs and travails of space exploration, while being inherently scientific and technological in nature, are deeply intertwined with public sentiment. The populace's enthusiasm or indifference can influence the direction, funding, and coverage of space programs. As the lunar missions unfolded in the mid-20th century, a phenomenon gradually emerged, often described as space fatigue. This sentiment, shaped by various factors, played a pivotal role in how missions like Luna 24 were received by the general public. The initial years of the space race were marked by fervor and fascination. Each launch, orbit, and landing was a foray into the unknown, shrouded in both anticipation and anxiety. The first satellite, the first human orbiting Earth, and then the pinnacle of achievements, the first human moon landing. These milestones captivated the global audience, transcending borders and ideologies. The moon, an object of wonder for millennia, suddenly seemed within reach, its mysteries ready to be unraveled. However, as with any prolonged narrative, repetition began to dilute the allure. After the monumental success of Apollo 11, subsequent missions, though scientifically crucial, didn't elicit the same rapturous public response. The moon had been conquered, the American flag planted. Subsequent missions, focused more on scientific experiments and lunar roving, lacked the dramatic punch of that first step. The narrative started shifting from the romance of exploration to the technicalities of research. By the mid-1970s, when Luna 24 embarked on its mission, the public's infatuation with the moon was waning. There was a growing sense of what next? While Luna 24 aimed to delve deeper into the moon's surface than any mission before, to many, it was still treading familiar ground. The mission's objectives, though groundbreaking in the scientific community, did not easily translate into captivating headlines for the average viewer. Furthermore, the world was changing. The 1970s were not just about space. There were geopolitical tensions, oil crises, socio-cultural revolutions, and a host of earthly concerns that vied for public attention. Space exploration, expensive and seemingly distant from daily realities, started facing questions about its relevance and cost-effectiveness. For many, the astronomical costs of sending missions to space seemed harder to justify when there were pressing issues on Earth. Moreover, the nature of the information age meant that news cycles were faster and attention spans shorter. In an era predating the internet but marked by rapid news dissemination, stories had to compete fiercely for front-page space or prime-time slots. A mission like Luna 24, devoid of human drama and building on previous lunar missions, found it challenging to break through the noise. It's also essential to understand that public perception is often a reflection of broader societal moods. The late 1960s and 1970s saw a surge in environmental awareness, with Earth Day being celebrated, concerns about pollution rising, and a growing realization of our planet's fragility. This shift in focus from the stars to our home planet subtly influenced how people perceived space endeavors. The moon, once the symbol of the ultimate frontier, was now often seen in the context of Earth's environment as a silent witness to our planet's challenges. Technical challenges and overcoming odds. The journey to the moon, be it through manned missions like Apollo or unmanned endeavors like Luna 24, was never a straightforward voyage. Beyond the grandeur of the goal lay a labyrinth of technical challenges, each demanding innovation, precision, and resilience. Luna 24, though lesser known, was no exception to this rule, facing its set of obstacles and yet surmounting them with commendable expertise. The fundamental task of reaching the moon, though repeated multiple times by the 1970s, was still fraught with risks. The voyage required impeccable navigation to ensure that the spacecraft entered the correct trajectory. A slight miscalculation could result in missing the moon entirely or crashing into it. The Soviet space program had its share of mishaps in the past, with earlier Luna missions facing failures ranging from launch issues to landing inaccuracies. Thus, the ghost of past failures loomed large over Luna 24. Then came the challenge of landing. The lunar surface is not a smooth expanse, but a rugged terrain marked by craters, mountains, and boulders. Choosing an appropriate landing site was crucial, not just for the safety of the mission, but also for its scientific objectives. The site needed to be both accessible and relevant, offering a chance to extract samples that could provide meaningful insights. Luna 24's proposed site, given the mission's ambitious goals, was particularly challenging, necessitating precision and control during descent. One of the standout objectives of Luna 24 was to drill deeper into the moon's regolith than ever before. This was uncharted territory. Earlier missions had only scratched the surface, but Luna 24 aimed to go deeper, hoping to extract a core sample that could provide a layered history of the moon's geological past. This demanded a drilling mechanism that was both robust and intricate. The device had to pierce the regolith, navigate potential obstacles like hard rocks, and ensure the extracted sample's integrity. However, the challenges didn't end with successful drilling. The extracted sample had to be stored securely for its return journey to Earth. This entailed designing a containment system that could protect the sample from contamination, preserve its properties, and withstand the rigors of lunar takeoff, voyage through space, and re-entry into Earth's atmosphere. Another often overlooked challenge was communication. While Luna 24 was an unmanned mission, it was not an autonomous one. The spacecraft was remotely operated from Earth, requiring a continuous exchange of data and commands. This communication had to be real-time, clear, and uninterrupted, ensuring that the mission's controllers could make informed decisions, especially during critical phases like landing and sample extraction. Overcoming these challenges demanded an interdisciplinary approach. Scientists, engineers, geologists, and a plethora of other experts collaborated, bringing together their collective expertise to address each hurdle. For every known challenge, there were countless unforeseen ones, like equipment malfunctions or unexpected lunar conditions. The team's ability to adapt, innovate, and persist in the face of setbacks was a testament to their dedication and skill. The astronauts, unsung heroes of the mission. A paradox often encountered in the narrative of space exploration is the overwhelming focus on manned missions and the astronauts who undertake them. Their stories, woven with courage, sacrifice, and adventure, naturally captivate audiences worldwide. However, when discussing Luna 24, a mission without human passengers, one might wonder about the relevance of astronauts. Yet, even in the backdrop of an unmanned mission, the influence and legacy of astronauts, both American and Soviet, are deeply interwoven, making them the unsung heroes of such endeavors. The astronaut, or cosmonaut as termed in the Soviet Union, is not just an individual trained for spaceflight. They are emblematic of the human spirit, the embodiment of our collective yearning to explore, understand, and transcend boundaries. Their journeys, their experiences, and even their reflections shape the way space missions, manned or unmanned, are perceived and pursued. The Apollo program, with its roster of astronauts, set a benchmark. Figures like Neil Armstrong, Buzz Aldrin, and Michael Collins became household names, their voyages chronicled, analyzed, and celebrated. Their experiences, from the exhilaration of moonwalks to the solitude of lunar orbits, added a deeply personal dimension to space exploration. They humanized the vastness of space, making it relatable, tangible, and aspirational. Through their eyes, the world experienced the moon's barren beauty, the profoundness of Earthrise, and the introspective isolation of space. Parallelly, the Soviet Union had its pantheon of cosmonaut heroes. Yuri Gagarin's pioneering spaceflight, Valentina Tereshkova's trailblazing journey as the first woman in space, and Alexei Leonov's groundbreaking spacewalk were milestones that stirred Soviet pride and global admiration. These cosmonauts, with their tales of bravery and curiosity, shaped the Soviet space narrative, emphasizing exploration's collective nature over individual celebrity. Now, one might wonder, how do these astronauts and cosmonauts influence a mission like Luna 24? Firstly, their voyages set the stage. The early successes and failures of manned missions provided invaluable data, shaping the technological and scientific frameworks for subsequent missions, including unmanned ones. The lunar landscapes described by Apollo astronauts, the challenges they faced, and the samples they collected informed and enriched the objectives of Luna 24. Moreover, the cultural impact of astronauts and cosmonauts subtly influenced the design, goals, and public perception of unmanned missions. The human stories of joy, trepidation, wonder, and introspection, as narrated by these spacefarers, created a public appetite for space exploration. Even if Luna 24 lacked human passengers, it was in many ways an extension of this appetite, a continuation of the narrative initiated by its human predecessors. Additionally, several astronauts and cosmonauts transitioned to roles beyond just being spacefarers. They became ambassadors, scientists, administrators, and even consultants. Their first-hand experiences influenced policy decisions, mission designs, and outreach programs. It's conceivable that the insights and recommendations of these seasoned veterans played a role, directly or indirectly, in shaping the ambitions and execution of Luna 24. However, the absence of human protagonists in the Luna 24 narrative also underscores a challenge. The mission, despite its technological prowess and scientific importance, lacked the personal touch, the human face that could narrate its tale. share its challenges, and celebrate its triumphs. This absence in a media landscape that thrives on human interest stories possibly contributed to the mission's overshadowed legacy. Geopolitical climate and its effects on the mission's coverage. The narrative of space exploration, while ostensibly a tale of scientific and technological endeavor, is inextricably intertwined with the geopolitical climate of its time. The mid-20th century, characterized by the Cold War between the United States and the Soviet Union, saw space as not just the final frontier, but also the newest arena of rivalry, propaganda, and strategic one-upmanship. This backdrop deeply influenced the reception, portrayal, and, ultimately, the coverage of missions, including Luna 24. The very genesis of the space race was rooted in geopolitics. The launch of Sputnik by the Soviet Union in 1957 was not just a scientific achievement. It was a powerful statement, signaling Soviet technological prowess and strategic capability. The subsequent milestones, whether it was Yuri Gagarin's pioneering spaceflight or America's Apollo moon landings, while undoubtedly monumental feats in their own right, were also emblematic of the respective nations' ideological, technological, and geopolitical standing. By the time Luna 24 was launched in 1976, the space race had seen a series of ebbs and flows, with both superpowers achieving significant milestones. However, the geopolitical narrative had evolved. The early days of frantic competition had given way to a more nuanced engagement, marked by détente and instances of collaboration, such as the Apollo-Soyuz test project in 1975. This joint mission between America and the Soviet Union symbolized a temporary thaw in relations, a coming together not just of two spacecraft, but also of two competing ideologies. Yet the underlying currents of rivalry and strategic posturing were ever present. While space was a frontier of exploration, it was also a domain of defense, intelligence, and potential militarization. Every mission, manned or unmanned, was scrutinized not just for its scientific merit, but also for its potential strategic implications. In this milieu, Luna 24 faced a unique challenge. On the one hand, it was a mission of immense scientific import, aiming to delve deeper into the lunar soil than ever before. On the other hand, it was a Soviet mission launching in an era where the narrative of lunar exploration, especially in Western media, was largely seen through the lens of the Apollo achievements. The geopolitical prism, coupled with media dynamics, influenced Luna 24's coverage in several ways. Firstly, the inherent West-centric nature of global media in the 1970s meant that American achievements in space often received broader, more celebratory coverage. The Apollo missions, backed by the might of American media and PR machinery, were not just scientific endeavors. They were spectacles, events that captured global imagination. In contrast, Soviet missions, including Luna 24, while covered, often lacked the same media amplification. The coverage they received was sometimes tinged with skepticism, reflective of the broader Cold War mistrust. Additionally, the nature of information dissemination from the Soviet Union played a role. The USSR's approach to media was characteristically controlled and cautious. While successes were celebrated, failures or setbacks were often not publicly acknowledged. This lack of transparency sometimes cast a shadow over genuine achievements, leading to skepticism or underreporting in international media.